Swine Warrior asks, "What took you to Catalonia?" Meaning Barcelona. That's part of the Catalonian portion of Spain. And do you think your counterpart from Catalonia would be treated as you were? Well, Barcelona was great. I really enjoyed Barcelona, and the reason why I was there was for work. There's a client of ours that has an office there, so I was there for that, and I found that Barcelona to be really fascinating. First of all, the architecture was beautiful, and by the way, the women were quite beautiful too. I have to say that out of the many cities I've been to around the world, that was, you know, the average quality, right up there. So it's interesting though, in Barcelona, the amount of English speakers there was pretty low compared to, for instance, like Germany or Scandinavian countries or that sort of thing. Even like in Prague, you know, they spoke a lot more English than they did in Barcelona. So I thought that was interesting. So all right, and that was a Swine Warrior that asked me that question. And so SAS929 said, "Why do you wear silly shirts?" Well, I don't really have the best fashion sense ever, but my wardrobe gets progressively better every year. Mrs. Zaunstar helps me out with that. So, do you purposely not shave before making a video? I don't know that it always looks like that I haven't shaved, but I do tend to make videos probably a little bit later in the day, so maybe it's like 5 o'clock shadow, but I'm not particularly a hairy guy. I think just with my electric shaver, I don't necessarily shave as carefully as I could. So, do you like ninjas? Sure, I love ninjas, I guess. Ninja Gaiden, actually, or Ninja Gaiden, if you like, actually was my favorite Nintendo game of the original 8-bit Nintendo. I beat that game over and over again. So, given the chance, would you man-hug P.Z. Myers, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, pre- and post-hair loss, and Daniel Dennett in rapid succession, or if possible at the same time? Yeah, sure, I guess. Which is better, unicorns or dragons? Yes, you have to pick one. Oh, dragons are way cooler than unicorns. Come on, that's not even close. So, Zom Gets Chris, Dark Matter 2525, or Grappling Ignorance. If you could only subscribe to one, which would you choose? Well, I'm subscribed to all three, but if I had to choose one, it would be Dark Matter, for sure. Let's see. So, blah, spelling fail. Don't drink and type. Okay, so that was from something else. What was the most terrifying moment of your life? What was the happiest? You know what? I couldn't even tell you what the most terrifying and what the happiest was. I'd have to think about that. Maybe I'll do a video about that in the future, but I don't even know. Out of all your trips, which area did you like the most? I really enjoyed Stockholm. I really enjoyed Copenhagen. I really enjoyed Barcelona. Those were a few of my favorites. I did also really like Zermatt in Switzerland. That was really cool too. And so I like a lot of different places. So, would you rather be extremely good looking and live a short life, or be extremely ugly and live a long life? Oh, easily. I would be extremely ugly and live a long life, because you know you can do a lot to yourself to make yourself at least passable, even if you are ugly naturally. And still, just having a long life, just all that knowledge you could acquire and all that you could see, I would much rather do that. So, and of course, these last few questions were asked by Dark Matter 2525. Here we go. So, and who is your favorite YouTuber whose username starts with D and ends with 5? Well, that would have to be you, Baldy. Or, oh, whoops, did I just say Baldy? Oh, I didn't mean that. Yes, I did. So, what swear word do you think Benny Hinn thinks to himself when the next in line for faith healing is an amputee? Says Daracus. Yeah, I don't know what he thinks, but he probably thinks that, you know what, there's nothing he's going to be able to do for them, but he'll probably try to find something else to heal on them for something. So, what else? How many Christians does it take to be as awesome as an atheist? I don't know, couldn't tell you. What is your guilty pleasure regarding music? I would say, let's see, guilty pleasure regarding music. There's a lot of songs that I can think of that are that were probably like not considered the most. Oh, I don't know. Actually, a couple of years ago, I was on kind of a Mika kick for a little bit, even though his music is like just ridiculously syrupy, poppy kind of stuff. But there was a couple songs of his that I liked for a while there. So, what was the silliest question you got in this? Oh, that was probably the one I just skipped, which says something like, if I made a paper mache pig out of a Quran and had gay sex with it, or made a paper mache dildo out of a Bible and licked it while listening to Do You Really Want to Hurt Me by Boy George, what would offend you the least out of those two? That was probably one, but I don't know. It's a ridiculous question, so no reason to answer. Who's your favorite YouTuber? I did already answer that, I think, in part. When did I join YouTube? Well, it was 2006 that I actually started my YouTube account, but it was September 21st, 2009 that I put out my first video that I really wanted everyone to see. That was called Deconversion from Religion, Better for Humanity. That was the title. And so yeah, I've been on YouTube and really regularly making videos for about 2 years now. So, what is your favorite comedian? List a couple if you don't have just one. I would say my favorite comedian is George Carlin. I know that's a very common answer, and you're probably expecting that, but that's true. I saw him in concert twice. I saw him in, it was either 92 or 93. I also saw him again in 1996. So those were by RGJMCE666 that asked me that. Hazawful asks, do you like apples? Yes, I do like apples, although I don't eat them very much. I like Cortland apples or other apples that have sort of a tangy flavor to them. Let's see, what kind of evidence, if any, could you see convincing you to be a part of a given religion or to believe in God understood to be creator God of the universe? I'd settle for any credible evidence. I haven't even seen any, so I don't know. It would need to be something more than there is right now, I'll tell you that. Are the 49ers going to the playoffs? I don't think so. I'd like to think that they are, but I don't think that's going to happen. Not this year. They had a good win week 1, but it was against a terrible team, so I mean, it wasn't even really a particularly convincing victory until the end. How many books do you have there? I love seeing people's books. There are a lot of books behind me here, but and that's not even all of them that you're seeing, but a lot of them are Mrs. Zaunstar's, a lot of them are mine too, but it's a combined collection, so there's quite a few in there. Favorite concert experience? I would say that U2 really put on a really good show. I saw the Elevation tour back in 2000, I believe it was. It's Mrs. Zaunstar's favorite band, so... what are my musical interests? I think I already went into that. Do I play any instruments? Yeah, I answered that one too. Do you own any books on herpetology? No, I don't believe I do. I did have a book on snakes growing up, but I'm not sure if it's part of this collection. It may be one that's still at my parents' house. My dad's got a lot of books on him, being the biologist. So, is the crocoduck a bird or a reptile, says Carrion Call 94. It's either a bird-like reptile or a reptile-like bird. I haven't decided yet. Curious1 says, where'd you come up with the name Zaunstar? It's really cool. Actually, I did do a video about that. It was called What's in a Name in Brisbane. That was a video I did about that. So I'll point you to that. Were you an amateur magician as a kid? Ever wanted to be a stage performer or a circus carnival performer? No, I never did. In fact, I never had any inkling that I would ever be interested in anything like this. Growing up, it was never really anything I thought about doing this kind of thing, because obviously it didn't exist, and I just never thought of it. So PJT says, there's a lot of debate nowadays about what defines free speech. Video games and flag burning, to name a few things. My question to you is, what do you define as free speech? Well, I define it as any time when you actually have a thought that you want to put out there to the masses. That's your speech. If you have a right to do that, that's free speech. And I'm afraid I don't have any more insightful answer than that at the moment. Let's see, Swiss Topper, good old Swiss Topper says, you seem to be quite the jet setter. What do you do for a living? Yeah, I did already answer that one. When am I going to come hang out in Switzerland? Well, I would love to come hang out with you in Switzerland, but that was actually my first European trip, was Switzerland. It was my first trip out of the country, not including Canada, which, America Junior, come on, let's be honest. But yeah, Switzerland was an excellent country. I had a very good time there. It was a very interesting place. So I would love to say hi when I'm out in Switzerland next time. Are you actually any good at rowing a boat? No, I'm not. That little outro thing is, yeah, that's definitely not me. Definitely not me actually rowing that boat. Have you ever considered making your own religion or cult? Maybe you have one already. If so, how can I join? Well, the Crocoduck Army is about as close to a cult as you're going to get, I think, for me. A mythical country, a Crocostan, full of my subscribers, the Crocoduck Army. That's as close as you're going to get to a cult, I'm afraid. So, are you a Monty Python fan? Ask because you closing portion is kind of Monty Python-esque. Yeah, FT Payne. I am a Monty Python fan, but I wasn't the one that created that outro. So that was somebody else. I'll link him down below or something. So, do you want the Crocoduck Army to be an army debunking any stupid claims, maddening and jellifying anyone that just refuses to listen, like Nazis? That would be kind of fun, but no, not a real army. What is your all-time favorite book? La Resistance 86 says. Yeah, I already answered that, I think. What selected reading would you recommend to a young agnostic? M92 Arshel says. I would say that would be something along the lines of, well, probably the usual stuff, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, those kind of authors is probably where you want to start. Can you compare our new democracy with the states? Swine Warrior says. Well, yeah, I would say that that Spain is very democratic. It feels very free. Just walk around, whatever. Feels pretty laid back. I really did. I did enjoy your country quite a lot. So, let's see. I think I figured out who you remind me of. Is it possible you're related to the guy who plays the chief mechanic and bot on Battlestar Galactica? Lapis Long says. I looked that guy up. I don't think I look particularly like him. I mean, vaguely, I look more like him than say, I don't know, some other, than Owen Wilson or something that I look nothing like, but that's about it. Mr. Masterful 17 says, do you answer troll questions? Yes, I do. And he also says, if yes, can I ask a troll question? Absolutely. If I can ask a troll question, will you be infuriated by my trolling? Probably not. If you're not infuriated by my trolling, is it okay that I'm trolling you right now? Absolutely. Go for it. Cuban Atheist says, breasts or ass? Ah, yes, the question for the ages, breasts or ass? I don't think it's usually like a total package deal, so I don't get particularly fixated on one sort of aspect or another. And there's certain minimum qualifications maybe, but it's a very wide range. Okay, next we have Dresky Vanderhoff, who says, how can I stop my country from ending living under Big Brother eyes? Now, I looked up what country he's from, and it's Argentina. I don't know exactly what's going on in Argentina that would be Big Brother-ish, but how do you stop your country from living under it? You would publicize it, make your own YouTube channel, talk about it, try to get as many other people talking about it as possible. That's the best advice I can give you on that. And also you asked, books, auto-help books, which I guess you mean like self-help sort of books, versus religious books, which is worse? Well, I would say that religious books are much worse, because self-help books, while a lot of them are silly, people can ultimately try them, and when they don't work, they will often cast them aside because there isn't all this other stuff stacked on top of them that makes them want to believe that it works, like religion does. So, for that reason, I think that one's worse. If you had to have one song play in your head constantly for the rest of your life, what would it be? By Holocaust asked me that. So, I guess that would depend on when you asked me. I guess at the moment, maybe Whose Authority by Not a Surf. That would be a good song to go through my head. That gets me. That's kind of a slightly rebellious song, but like just it's interesting. Anyway, that guy's sock account says, "Do you wear pants while making videos?" Yes, I do. Though it might be more interesting if I didn't. I don't know, but yeah, I do. Let's see, I also got, in your videos, you are calm and charming. Have you always been so? Do you ever feel confrontational? There are a couple of people that sell power bands in the mall here, and I've always had I always felt the urge to confront, but I managed to resist. Is that good? and that was by Denuvo. So yeah, I don't think. Thank you, first of all, but second of all, I don't think you necessarily have to be non-confrontational, but you can still be. You could be confrontational, but not be angry about it. You can be confrontational and just be more matter of fact. Like, so what says that those power bands really? What do they really do? I mean, what research has there been done on them? You know, I saw someone selling power bands too, and I almost asked the same question. But you know, I was with Mrs. Zaunstar, and she doesn't really like me getting into confrontations with people when I'm with her, and which I don't anyway. But I mean, just even discussions like that, just rather steer clear. So, yeah, you could do that. So, Anubis2814, how about responding to my tag questions? LOL. Yes, I have been tagged a few times at least by people recently, one of which is Bionic Dance, who I know I know she's got a question in here as well, which I will answer. And Anubis, I know you tagged me for something. Bionic Dance, I think you tagged me for the video, how do you live your life without God, or something like that. And that one, I wasn't sure how to speak to that one, because I've always been an atheist. So I guess I didn't really know what people were looking for in that one, so that's why I didn't respond. Not because it isn't an interesting question, but I just didn't know how to get it to apply to me, you know. So, Anubis, yeah, I'll have to figure out which tag questions you're talking about, but I do remember the tag. I just gotta think of it. So, any good book suggestions? Welsh Lore asks. A lot of you must be under the impression that I read a lot of books. I don't read a lot of books. I read a lot of stuff, but a lot of the stuff I read is on the internet and various other places. It's mostly on the internet that I'll look for certain things, and I'll read research, or I'll read some sort of news story, and then I'll go look for more information about it and that sort of thing. So yeah, I end up accumulating a lot of knowledge about things, but it's not because I'm always reading an actual paper book, you know, or a Kindle or whatever, what have you. So, are you intending to visit Finland again? Betator666 says, yes, I definitely am, and I have no idea when that will be, but Finland is pretty high on my list of places that I'd really like to see again, because as part of the Scandinavia tour that I was on, we were only in Helsinki for a couple days, and one of the days we actually went on a day trip pretty much all day to Estonia, to Tallinn. So I didn't really see as much of Helsinki as I would have liked to. So yes, I will definitely be back there again. And plus, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a quarter Finnish, so I suppose I should it'd be interesting to get to know a little bit more of the country, what it's like, and all that. So Mike Vela something says, where do you stand on the abortion issue, and how do you justify that stance? Justification in general, and as a result of your gender. I actually did 2 full-length videos on that topic, and you can find that one of them was abortion for beginners, and the other one is abortion for amateurs, and I'm going to do one more in that series at some point as well, and that would be abortion for experts, to close out that trilogy, if you will. So we also have Black the Berserker. Who do you plan on voting for in the next presidential election, if anyone? That would be Barack Obama, because there is not going to be anybody that is not going to be crazy on the other side. And I tend to be Democrat anyway, and I just don't see any way that Republicans are going to nominate anybody that's even remotely palatable at this point. There's nobody in the Republican field right now that I find even more palatable than McCain was, and I certainly wasn't going to vote for him. So, and you know, Romney would be, you know, probably the one that might actually be sane, but he's still wrong, and he's still completely opposite to pretty much what I believe about most things. What is your current fight record? In what? in reality, I don't know that I've ever won a fight. I think there have been fights that I haven't lost, but I don't think there have been any fights that I've ever won. I've never been much of a fighter. So, what is the single worst movie you have ever seen? Oh, it was some Spike Lee movie. I can't remember. It came out in like summer of '95, I think it was. It was horrible. My girlfriend at the time and I left the movie theater like half an hour in, it was a boring movie. So, what is your favorite porn genre? Why do you think you were attracted to that particular genre the most? And that was asked by GrayCloud24. Ah, yes, porn. You know, it's funny. As much as I joke about porn, and as much as I find porn kind of funny in some ways, like, I very rarely see it. And, you know, I would totally admit it if I did. And, of course, I've seen porn. But I have not... in terms of genres, I mean, a lot of it I just find silly. A lot of it's like... I just find so funny and contrived that it just doesn't do anything for me. But other than that, in a broader sense, generally nothing with guys in it at all. That's kind of it. Alright, so my question is as follows. What are the top 3 reasons you think atheists deserve their own TV channel by Atheism TV? So, yeah, I think that it would be great to have that kind of thing, because everybody that's a special interest of whatever type seems to have some sort of forum or outlet to get their ideas out there. So, why not Atheism TV? That seems like a great plan to me. Go for it. So, if you could have any voice narrate your life, whose voice would it be? Chromelium says. So yeah, I think that would have to be David Cross, only because several people have told me that I sound a bit like David Cross. Not the least of which was Theoretical Bullshit, who I met last year at the DC meetup. He said also that I sound like David Cross, and I don't think he knew that anybody else thought that. So for some reason, yeah, I guess I sound like him. Yeah, so Bushonomics says, congrats on your milestones. Is there still a coffin-shaped dent on your couch? No, actually there isn't, because that couch has been replaced. That was an old couch that was like almost 10 years old, and we just replaced it with a new one this past winter, just a couple months after Coughlin was here. So no, there is no coffin-shaped dent in the couch anymore. But yes, we have Heathen Infidel. The population of the world is 7 billion and growing, but scientists think the Earth can only support 2 billion people in the long run. What do you think is the most ethical way to get the world's population down to a reasonable level? Well, I would say that'd have to be education. I also would take a bit of issue with the fact that 2 billion is really how many it'll hold. Obviously, it's holding a lot more now, and yeah, it's under strain, but it's not... I don't think it's about to burst like tomorrow. I think there's some assumptions there, like, okay, 2 billion people maybe couldn't live like someone wealthy in the U.S. or something like that, but 7 billion as it stands now, yeah, they probably could. It's just education, letting people know that they're having impact on the world. So Black Lycan says, which monopoly token be you, or who are you in the game of Clue? So yeah, in the game of Clue, Colonel Mustard. Yeah, I'm Colonel Mustard. And which Monopoly token am I? I usually picked the car. That was usually what I was. Even though I'm not much of a car guy, I just picked the car usually. And Cliff M85 says, who is your favorite pony from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? I don't think I've ever... Well, I know I've never owned My Little Pony, and I don't think my sister even ever owned My Little Pony, so I don't really know anything about it. It's like Hello Kitty Island Adventure or something. I don't know. I have a very tough question, Luis Diz81 says. Are you the Matthew Broderick of atheism? Woo, didn't think I had it in me to ask. Well, yes, as a matter of fact, Matthew Broderick is definitely the celebrity that people say I most resemble, although the second most that I get is Seth MacFarlane, and frankly, I think that's actually a bit closer, and I think the reason more people don't pick up on it is because he's not always he's usually not in front of the camera, so I think if I had to compare the two, I'd say I look a bit more like Seth MacFarlane, but I see it. I mean, I see that I look a little bit like Matthew Broderick, but I get that a lot. Like I don't know. I guess I look more like him than I think. Maybe, I don't know. But Bionic Dance, yes, good old Bionic Dance says, pineapples, are they mollusks or crustaceans? Right. Well, I say they're crustaceans because I really like lobster. It's very good. And I do really like pineapples. I've been to Hawaii 3 times now, and whenever you go to Hawaii, you will have a lot of pineapples. So yeah, I like pineapples. Also, can I have a cookie, she says. Absolutely. A macadamia nut, a white chocolate macadamia nut cookie, yes. And inspired by your bookshelf, with what fictional character from what novel or novella do you most identify, says Fellhaven. That is a tricky question. I know that the guy that kind of put the society together in The Stand... Oh, and by the way, I don't know how I slept on this the whole time. The Stand is one of my favorite books of all time. In fact, if I had to pick a favorite, that probably would be it. I don't know why it didn't occur to me before. That's what I usually say. The Stand, the unabridged version, excellent book. I would recommend it to anyone. It'll take a while to get through, but it's a great book. So yeah, that guy in the book. It's been a long time since I've read it. I don't remember the character name. So what, in your opinion, is the best and worst argument for theism? Honest Discussioner asks. So what, in your opinion, is the best and worst argument for atheism or against theism? What is your favorite alcoholic beverage? What particular brand? So, okay, the best and worst argument for theism, I think the best argument for theism is just that we don't know, and, you know, people look for some sort of knowledge that they can pick, even if it's not real knowledge. I don't think it's a really good case for theism either, but at least it's, you know, I think that's what motivates a lot of people. So clearly it has some, even though it doesn't have any real philosophical or intellectual weight to it, it has persuasive weight. So I guess that would be the best, or whatever, if you want to call it that. Worst argument for theism is probably like Pascal's wager or something, you know, because how in the world do you know which, you know, you're taking all the other gods and saying that it couldn't be them either. So that's probably the worst argument for theism. The best argument for atheism is show me evidence of a deity. That's really that simple. Worst argument for atheism has got to be that all babies are atheists thing. I did another video on that. I did a video on that recently, and like I know there was a lot of people telling me that like really it's true that all babies are atheists. You know, and after looking at some of those, I can see it. It's very possible. You could be completely right that really technically all babies are atheists, but I just don't see how it's important. I can't make it important no matter how much I think about it. So to me it's just not a very good case for atheism. But I understand that that's not how it's used. I realize that's not the purpose of that argument. But if someone did use it as the argument, I would say it's a bad argument. So, okay. Yeah, oh, and what's my favorite beverage? I'd say Kahlua, because White Russians are excellent. And the dude loves White Russians. And the dude not being me, but, you know, the one who has the rug that ties the room together. Yeah. Which I have, by the way. I've got that rug. I'll show you. So, let's see. C. Jeffers says, why are you an atheist? Well, because there's no evidence for being a theist. When did you know you were an atheist? I've always been an atheist, so I don't know. As early as I heard there was such a thing as God, and there was no reason to believe that there was any such thing, so I just always assumed there wasn't. So how did you feel to become an atheist? Well, or as I said, I already was coming out as an atheist an issue again? No, I've rarely ever felt any sort of pressure to be religious from anyone. You know, most people. I'm fortunate enough that I've never really been in the real, you know, I've never really been in the Bible Belt that much. Growing up in upstate New York, sure, there's a fair number of religious people, but religion isn't really worn on your sleeve so much in upstate New York as it would be in the Bible Belt. Even those that are more religious, they tend to be less in your face about it. So, and they tend to be more Catholic too, which Catholics, you know, is a whole different thing. With Catholic, they don't tend to be creationists as much as your evangelical types that you see more in the Bible Belt. So it's a different kind of religion, and it didn't really bother me so much. If you were stranded on a desert island with everyone from Fox News and no food, who would you eat first? Megyn Kelly, because she is delicious. What movie character is most like you and why? Oh, these are questions by Heathen Infidel, by the way. Let's see, which movie character is most like me? I have no idea. I couldn't even begin to guess who that would be. Maybe something with Matthew Broderick. I don't know. What's the best way to cook a baby? Well, you have to simmer it. And then barbecue sauce, because I love barbecue sauce. Good barbecue sauce really makes a meal. Yep. Who or what pisses you off more than anything else? Well, you mentioned Fox News. I mean, Fox News is right up there. They're sort of a stealth Republican Party news program, so yeah, that kind of pisses me off. Skeptic Tom 818 says, I don't know, Zon, how well do I really want to know you? I don't know. I don't have the foggiest idea. GC391 says, how did you meet your wife? I met her on the internet, the old-fashioned way. So yeah, I met her in 1998, before internet dating was even fashionable. We didn't even have pictures up at the time of each other. But yeah, I met her on Matchmaker.com, and see, we had our first date April 10th of 1998. So, and we got married. A couple of years later. So, about 2.5 years later. So, what's the next one? Which Monty Python sketch is your favorite? Also, who's your favorite character? Says the zombie atheist. I have not seen a lot of the Monty Python Flying Circus episodes. I've seen a fair number of them, but I know I've probably only seen half of them at most. There's a lot of them that are memorable. Like, I think one of my favorite ones is the one where the How Not to Be Seen. I think that was one of the funnier ones. And in terms of movies, I would say I like The Life of Brian almost as much, if not perhaps more, than Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So, that gives you some idea. John Henry Alex says, Ginger or Marianne? Marianne, because gingers have no souls. So which video do you have that you are the most proud of and why? LJONYT asks. So, I'm not really sure. There are a few videos that I would say the whole How to Argue the Creationist series, that was kind of that's the first video that a lot of you in the Crocoduck Army saw originally, so I'm glad I came up with that idea, because it helped helped me give a platform to talk about what was on my mind. But I would say that recently the one about racism was probably one of my better ones as well, judging by reaction to it and the number of times it's been seen. It seems that people agree with that. So I don't think that's the last of the racism type videos that I'm going to be doing in the near future. I don't want to dwell on it, but there is at least one other video that I want to make about it sometime in the near future. So, if you could go anywhere in the world and the only condition was that you had to stay for a month and you had to walk everywhere, where would you go? I would say probably Stockholm, because I really, really enjoyed Stockholm, partly because I know my ancestors were from there and everything. My grandfather was born and raised there, and it's a fairly walkable city, and it's just a fascinating place to go and just to see how people live. I would easily spend a month there. And Copenhagen is probably a close second, and then Barcelona is probably in there as well. Barcelona is a little bit more sprawling. I think that would be hard to walk in. But so, what are your thoughts on debt-based fiat money? Popomp1 says. So the whole, I just know this has to be a Ron Paul supporter. Actually, Popomp, if I remember correctly, is one of my creationist Crocoduck Army members. So the whole fiat-based money, the whole debt-based fiat money thing, going back to the gold standard, I mean, I haven't done enough research to be able to give you reasons why that's silly, but I know that there are enough people that know more about this than I do that say it's silly, that I think it probably is. But at some point I'll do some more checking on that and figure out why. But I know there's a lot of yeah, that sounds like a whole Ron Paul thing there. I don't know. Let's see. What is the worst thing you've ever wanted to do to a person and why? Well, I've never seriously wanted to kill anyone, but definitely I would say, like, growing up, especially when I was like in middle school and I was getting picked on quite a bit. There were definitely, I would have dreams where I would kill them, and even well into my 20s, really. I would have, every once in a while, I'd have a dream that I was like back in middle school or whatever, and I was actually trying to kill someone, and that always, it didn't really frighten me, but I was always like, wow, that really, I carried that around with me for a while. But what is the biggest problem humanity has? Just lack of intellectual curiosity. That's what it boils down to. It's not as simple as just saying, oh, it's religion, or oh, it's this or that. It's just lack of curiosity, lack of having the wherewithal to find the facts. And that's the Shinigami one, something like that. And if you could be someone else for a day, who would you be and what would you do? If I could be someone else for the day, I would be Barack Obama, and I'd try to grow a spine. That's what I would try to do. But I don't know. Nah, I couldn't tell you for sure who I would be. Maybe some famous movie star. I don't know. It'd be fun. I have to think about that some more. Maybe I'll make a whole other video on that. But yeah, I think that's about it. And thanks a lot all for the questions. And this has been an extremely long question and answer session. You asked me about 150 questions or so. I got through most of them, I think. If I missed any, go ahead and ask me in the comments. But anyway, thanks again for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.